Hello everyone and welcome back to JavaScript Lessons on Codecademy. So last time we recapped what we had learned about objects. Today we're going to be recapping what we have learned about functions. So in this lesson we're going to focus on methods or functions. Methods are an important part of object-oriented programming, which OOP stands for. So OOP is an important part of programming which we'll dive into later. So methods are similar to functions. To prepare for methods, let's do a quick refresher on functions. Functions are defined using the function keyword followed by a pair of parentheses with optional parameters inside, a pair of curly braces with the function's code inside, and semicolons. A lot of semicolons. And when we call the function, we can put inputs or arguments for the parameters. For example, the square function on line 2 takes x as its parameter and returns that parameter squared. So what we need to do is define the function multiply. It should take two parameters, x and y, and return the product. So that's quite easy actually. We can literally copy and paste this function, y, x times y instead, and it should be called multiply. Then call your function passing any two arguments. And I will not just call the function, but I will also print out what it returns. So multiply, and I will say 8 and 9. It should return 72. As we can see, that's exactly what it does. So just a quick recap on how functions work is, so you call the function by saying whatever the function name is and parentheses, and in the parentheses you put arguments if it accepts arguments. If it doesn't, you just leave them there without anything inside them. And then once you give it arguments, it enters the function. So it assigns the first argument as x in this case and the second as y. So x equals 8, y equals 9. And then at the end of the function, if you've taken arguments, you will probably do a return. If you haven't, then you probably won't. But in either case, it runs everything that's in the body, and in the case of a return, it exits the function and returns, which means just gives you back whatever is said to return. So in this case, it multiplies 8 and 9 and gives that back to you. So that's why we see 72 logged onto our console. So let's move on. So what's a method then? In the last section we discussed properties. We can think of properties as variables associated with an object. So similarly, a method is just like a function associated with an object. Let's look at Bob, our same person object from the last lesson. Instead of just having these properties, name and age, which are on line 3 and 4 here, Bob also has a method called setAge. So this here at line 6. As you can probably guess, this method sets Bob's age to whatever argument you give it. Notice how we define setAge kind of like we define a property. So in setAge, which is the method or the function in a way, you assign Bob's age to equal new age, which new age you give it as a parameter here. The big difference is that we put in a function after the equal sign instead of a string number. So, okay. We call a method like a function, but we use object name dot the method name instead of just the function name. Look at line 10 where we use the method to change Bob's age to 40. We did this by calling bob.setAge 40. So let's try it ourselves. Use the method setAge to set Bob's age to 20. That's quite simple. We can just copy and paste this and put instead of a 4 there, a 2. And if this could only allow me to run the program, everything would be perfect. But it's not, so I will come back. I don't know what's going on with Codecademy, but hopefully it works now. And yes, it does. So that's good. So basically, this is of the function, like a function, but it's inside an object. And this is what I was talking about 2 lessons ago, or 1 lesson ago. I don't really remember when it was. So an object can have, yes, it can have variables inside it, but or parameters or whatever you want to call them, but it can also have methods inside it, which make that an object very powerful because it has a combination of both methods and variables. So let's move on. So why are methods so important? Methods serve several important purposes when it comes to objects. They can be used to change object property values. This method setAge on line 4 allows us to update bob.age, so it doesn't have to be one constant value. They can be used to make calculations based on object properties. Functions can only use parameters as an input, but methods can make calculations with object properties. So for example, we can calculate the year Bob was born on based on his age with our getYearOfBirth method on line 8 here. So we need to click 7 submit code to find out what year Bob was born in and move on to the next exercise, where we will learn more about how to make methods. So let's just look at what the code actually does. So it makes an object called Bob, assigns his age to be 17. Then we make a method where we set his age to be where do we set his age? Do we ever call that method? So set age, I don't actually see that method ever being called. Oh no, but we've already set the age, right, okay. So then if bob.getYearOfBirth equals function, and it returns 2014 minus Bob's age. But it's not actually 2014, it's 2016. They could have done something like get current time. I guess they didn't feel like it. So if this was true, this should be 1997. Yes, so it just returns 1997. If he was 17 today, it would return 1999. Although it sometimes depends, because his birthday could be tomorrow, so he could have been born a year earlier or later, or depends. But yeah, basically this is something you could do. It's just an example. So the this keyword. So okay, this is an interesting and actually a bit confusing keyword, or it was for me at first anyway. So our setAge method works great for Bob because it updates bob.age, but what if we want to use it for other people? So it turns out we can make a method work for many objects using a new keyword, this. So the keyword this acts as a placeholder and will refer to whichever object called that method when the method is actually used. So, okay, let's see what the program says, and then I will try to explain it myself if I can. So let's look at the method setAge on line 2. So this method. So this method isn't assigned to any object. It's just assigned to this. So whatever it's called by, it's going to give that attribute to it. So let's look at that to see how it works. By using the keyword this, setAge will change the age property of any object that calls it. So if you call it with Bob, it's going to change Bob's age. If you call it with Suzanne, which doesn't actually exist here, but if you call it with somebody else like Suzanne, it will change her age. If you call it with a third object, it's going to change their age, or assign a new age if it doesn't exist already. Previously we had a specific object Bob instead of the keyword this, but that limited the use of the method to just Bob. So if you wanted to assign to change the age of some other object, you would have to make a new method, which is a bit inefficient. By doing it this way, you're saving on typing and program efficiency. So then when we say bob.setAge equals setAge, which is on line 9, it means whenever we type bob.setAge, this age in the setAge method will refer to Bob age. Hopefully that makes sense. I think that I made it clear enough with my explanation. If you have any comments, do feel free to ask, because I know that this keyword can be slightly confusing. So to show this way of making setAge works just like the one in exercise 2, use Bob's setAge method to change his age to 50. So we need to bob.setAge, and we need to call it with 50. There we go. And if we were to console.log Bob's age, we should get 50. There we go. As you can see, we got 50, although before it was 30. So if we comment this line out, we're going to get 30, which proves that this works. So let's move on. This works for everyone. Great, now we can take advantage of the fact that the method setAge is not limited to a single object, Bob. We can reuse the same method for different objects. This allows us to avoid typing out a custom method each time, as I said. All because we use the placeholder this. So in the editor we have the same code as last time, where we define setAge using this. We then set Bob's age to equals setAge, but this time we will reuse the setAge method for Suzanne as well. So here is when Suzanne comes in. So make Suzanne on lines 11 to 13, who should initially have their age of 25, and the Suzanne setAge method also equal to setAge. Okay. So we actually need to make Suzanne. Var Suzanne, and I will do my normal build. So we want to have Suzanne, Suzanne.age. Yes, I can do this. We want her to be 25 years old, and the Suzanne.setAge method also to equal to setAge. I think that's what it means. I hope it is anyway. So then use Suzanne.setAge 35 to set Suzanne's age to 35. No. Okay. Unexpected token dot where? Is it talking about this? Might be. Let's comment that out and see what happens now. Oh, we don't need the comma there if we're doing that. I actually don't know what's wrong. I will come back, guys. Okay, so there are two things that I forgot if you're doing, if you're initializing an object like this. One, you shouldn't have an equal sign here. For some reason I did it correctly for age, but not for this. And two, you don't need Suzanne dot because you are inside the object, so there's no need to say that it's in Suzanne. And if you say that it's in Suzanne, then it gives you a syntax error. So as you can see now, it works fine. So you could also copy and paste this down here and change Bob to Suzanne, but a bit too cheap, and I prefer doing it this way anyway. So let's move on. Make your own method. So let's look at the new example and get practice writing methods. Here we have defined an object rectangle starting on line 1. It has two properties, height and width, which represents the height and width of the shape. So those two. And then it has a method. We have written a setHeight method which will update rectangle's height to the given parameter. This is very similar to setAge from our person example. Note we have used the keyword this. This is a placeholder, but in this scenario, this can only ever refer to rectangle because we defined setHeight to be explicitly part of rectangle by defining it as rectangle.setHeight. Okay. Oh, okay, interesting. So finish the method setWidth, and it should take a parameter newWidth. So I'll just copy that and replace height with width. And then I'll also copy this and again replace with height with width. Then use the two methods setHeight and setWidth to change rectangle's height to 6 and width to 8. So let's see if that works. No. Is this fine? Nope. Okay, let's see then. So we take in two arguments. We set this dot width to be equal to new width, and this dot height to be equal to new height. And unexpected end of input. Oh, this here. Okay. I see. So we actually need to call this. So we call it by rectangle dot set height. Oh, but that, are we supposed to finish the method set width? Right, never mind. I did this the wrong way around. I'm actually supposed to make a completely new method here. So this is how you make a completely new method. Sorry about that. Cut that out of there and paste it in here. There we go. So that's now correct. And then here change the width to 8 and height to 6 using our new methods. So we just call that and that. Width and height. So we needed 8 and 6. Let's see if that's going to work. There we go. So I was thinking that we only needed one function to do both things, but it actually wanted us to make, well, not functions, it wanted us to make two methods, but I was thinking it wanted us only one. So we call height to set its height and width to set its width. I don't completely understand why you would ever want this here if you're using this, but it might explain it later on, so we will see. So let's move on for now. More kinds of methods. So let's look at another method that calculates useful information about an object. Here we have an object square with a side length property to represent the length of the square's side. This time we have added a new method, which is calculate perimeter, which computes the perimeter of the square, so it's 4 times length, I'm guessing. Notice we make use of the word return in the same way we use it in functions. So what we need to do is add another method called calculate area, which returns the area of a square in terms of side length. Use the calc perimeter function as a guide. So this is our calc perimeter. What we can do is simply just copy it and pretty much paste it. So let's see. But instead of calc perimeter, we do calc area. And instead of times 4, we do times side length. So let's see. Oops, so we have done something wrong. Side length is not defined. That's weird. We actually never take a parameter in. Why is that? We can't just do this. Let's see if this works now. Your method failed when side length was 0, where it returned none instead of 0. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Basically, what the problem was that I didn't include the this keyword, and I actually don't like using the this keyword that much because I'm not used to it, which is why I said it's a bit confusing to use. So without the this keyword, it's trying to find side length in the global variables, and it doesn't exist there. So you have to include this dot side length, and if you do that, as you can see, it works. So you will actually come into contact with objects quite oftenly in object-oriented programming languages such as JavaScript, so you should actually learn this because it's very useful to know. If you have any questions, do feel free to ask in the comments below. But until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.